What's going on, guys? So let's say you want your 808s to sound and act like they do in FL. So you've been watching these FL tutorials and they just make their 808s hit and things are set up differently in Ableton, and you're wondering like, how the hell do I get that same effect in Ableton? Well, let me show you right now. Okay, the first thing I want to put to your attention here is that in FL Studio, a lot of times they kind of morph the shape of the 808 so that it's shorter, but it's scrunched together more. And this effect makes the 808 a little bit shorter and also more punchier. So Ableton doesn't have a visual representation like FL Studio does, but you can get that same exact effect. You just have to use your ears a little bit more. So let me turn off the melody here and I'll turn off the other drums. So now we just have the kick in 808. Okay, so what you would do is instead of having sustain all the way up, you would just turn your sustain down like this. And let's say you have your decay all the way down, you're not hearing it at all. So now you're going to start bringing it in, and this is saying how long is your 808 going to last for? How long is the decay? So we're using the decay as the sustain basically. So if we turn it all the way up, we're going to hear the full 808 like we do normally. But if we want to make it shorter and squish together more like they do in FL, we're going to go ahead and slide this back to a certain area that sounds good to us. So let's start listening to it and find a good area. So now you can notice that it's fizzling out a little bit, but it still has all of its punch and it sits in the mix a lot better instead of just always blasting 808 constantly. So that's one way that you can do that in Ableton. The second thing is that in FL Studio, they have those little glide things where they put in a note and they turn it into a glide note. Now it's not exactly the same in Ableton, but what you can do is you can go into your controls panel here into your 808 and you can turn your glide on. And you're going to have to adjust this timing after you get it all set up and you have your glides right and everything. You'll adjust the timing to get it perfect, but right around 100 usually sounds good, 1 to 150. And what you're going to do for glides is you're going to lay the notes over top of each other. So you can see like right here, I just have a D going over top of these notes. Let this play out. Alright, so that's how you can get some effects like that. Okay, so if you put a note over top of a note like they do in FL, it's not going to work the way you want it to. It's going to play this lower note here. So if you wanted to get some effect like that, you'd actually want to pull this back a little bit. Something like that. And you might want to pull it back like right here, just so that this has the full 2 bars that it's playing. Or the 2 pieces of the bar. So that's how you'd get that effect. So you're not putting it over top of one another, you're just overlapping one of them. So if we're starting on the G, we're overlapping it onto the D, or if we're starting on the D and going to the G, we're going to have the G overlapping the D now, and the D continues forward. So that's how you get very similar glide effects. That's as close as you're going to get in Ableton right now, until the new Ableton comes out where the glide feature is just off the rails. That's how you do the glides. So another thing is in FL Studio, you'll see that they'll just click in a note and it'll play the full length of the note. They won't have to actually extend it. So if you want to do something like that, you're going to want to put it in one-shot mode. And one-shot mode is going to play the length of the note until another note hits. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to get rid of this and I'm going to deactivate all these notes. So if you wanted the D to play, we'll put in this tiny little note right here and you'll see it'll extend the full length. So if you want to make your 808s that way and make them a little bit different, just go ahead and put it into one-shot mode. Now with one-shot mode, you see we don't have those options to decrease the size and kind of squish together the 808, so you would need to play with these fade in and fade outs instead. That's similar, but that's not quite the effect we were getting doing it the other way. So my suggestion for you would be, if you want to draw it out this way, go ahead and start by drawing it out this way. And then what you can do is select everything and press legato. And at that point, then you can go back to classic. And then you can adjust your settings appropriately right here to get it to work perfectly. So one other thing that they do in FL Studio that we don't have the exact same control over, but we can do something similar, is you'll see a lot of times they'll do the random panning on each note. So if you want to do some random panning on your thing, go ahead and double click this so that it's highlighted. And then you can go in here into your envelopes. We'll go to the mixer and we'll go to the track panning. So now if we wanted like these riding notes right here, maybe we want to set these left and right, we can do something like that here. That's how you can get some left and right action, just like FL. If you wanted to completely randomize it, you could turn on this random pan right here, but you have no control over it. So I would not use this feature, but if you want to play around with it, go ahead, be my guest. Like I said, it's completely random, so you have no control over it. So if it gets too crazy, you can only mess with the percentage here. You can't really do much more than that. Last thing I'm going to say is if you want to make some really crazy rolls or some really small notes, you'll see that my grid here only goes so small. Let's say I put it on 32. Well, maybe I want the notes to be faster than a 32. Like maybe I want them to be faster than that. So what I can do is actually put this on narrow, and you can see that they got even smaller yet. But the farther that you zoom in, the smaller that they get. So you can just make it insane. Let's just make it ridiculous just as an example here, but obviously you wouldn't use this in your song. It was just like a little zip sound. That's pretty funny actually. So yeah, that's obviously too fast, but if you need to get a narrower grid, just turn on narrow instead of widest. Alright guys, so that's how you get your 808 to look, behave, and act like they do in FL. So I know it makes it look cool because it's really easy to do these things, but you can literally do the same exact things in Ableton just by tweaking or doing things just a smidgen different. But you get all the same effects and all the same goodness doing it this way. So if you guys like that tutorial, smash the like button for me and subscribe to the channel if you're new here, because we're uploading daily tutorials and you're not going to want to miss out on them. But besides that, I'll be catching you guys again in the next one. Peace out.